How do you think the NSA is going to affect you here this year, and how will you address that?
Actually, it's getting close, so I'll have quite a bit to say about that very soon.
How will that affect you here this year?
Thank you, guys.
So when he says very soon there, what we believe the president means is Friday. That is when President Obama is expected to announce a hotly anticipated list of reforms to U.S. spying programs. The president was pushed into making these reforms after Edward Snowden caused the biggest security breach in U.S. history last year. Now the president has the opportunity to put this issue behind him, but will he be bold enough to seize this opportunity? Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, sits on the House Appropriations and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, you're a leader on the privacy issue. I want to talk about this bill that you're introducing today in just a moment. But first, let's talk about what the president is probably going to do on Friday. What do you think he needs to do? What would you like to hear from President Obama Friday?
Well, I'd like to hear specifics on some of the changes he wants to see take place. In particular, I'd love to hear him advocate for a restructuring of that bulk metadata program so that we don't have to gather these millions and billions of call records, that we can use a more traditional approach to those telephone companies when we have reason to believe that a number is connected with a terrorist plot. Similarly, I think he'll lay out steps to bolster confidence both at home and around the world that the eavesdropping that we're doing is focused on the bad guys, the people that mean to do us harm, those that are involved in terrorist plots, and that there is no desire nor intent to gather the communications of innocent people. So I want to hear him, lay out the case of how we're going to build that confidence. Very important, I think, for the cooperation we need around the world, as well as important for some of our industries to maintain their position of leadership in a technology world.
Let's dive into your Telephone Metadata Reform Act, as you have dubbed it. Very sexy title there, by the way.
Oh, yes.
It specifically removes call records from the types of information that the government can obtain under Section 215 of the Patriot Act. Explain how this is going to, A, how it's going to change the system that we have now, and B, prevent future controversies like the ones exposed by Mr. Snowden.
Well, the current practice is for the government to apply to the FISA court and get all these domestic call records in bulk. And mind you, it's not the content of these calls, it's the numbers connected to other numbers. What number's been calling what other number. Rather than do that, we would go back to a more traditional model where when we had reason to believe that a particular number was connected with a plot, we would go to the providers and say, give us the numbers that these numbers have been in touch with. I think technologically we can reduce the response times from the private sector to get that information. The biggest argument that's been made by the intelligence community for gathering all this bulk data, the haystack they call it, is that they could do it more quickly. But I think we can get those response times down very short. Yes.
You know that phone companies have said they are against this. What makes you think you're going to be able to change their minds?
Well, this is certainly an image problem for the phone companies. They'd rather not be involved in this at all. But the reality is they maintain these records anyway. They're required to because they need to bill their customers. They need them for disputes. The FCC, among other things, requires them to keep these records for a year and a half. So they're already doing it. They could carry those records in a form that would make it more easily usable in a terrorism investigation. That's something that we should ask them to do. But it's not something they're going to volunteer to do. But nonetheless, I think they can be persuaded.
Before I let you go, I want to talk to you about the budget. House and Senate negotiators struck this $1 trillion deal to finance the government through September. Among other things, though, it takes $25 million away from Wall Street regulators who are essentially supposed to be protecting the little guy from big banks. As a Democrat, how can you accept a concession like that one?
Well, it's hard. It's a bitter pill. On the other hand, there are a lot of things that I can accept and do like in the bill. The restoration of funding for Head Start and early Head Start, for example. So, Democrats got a lot of their priorities. Republicans that wanted to water down or render that new CFTC ineffective, they got part of what they wanted. And that's the nature of any big compromise. But what we all got is the avoidance of another shutdown, the avoidance of autopilot financing where we don't get to prioritize any of the changing needs for the country. So on some, I think it's a victory in a Congress with very few that it can claim.
Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, thank you.
You bet.